Hi there, it's Jody Lawyer, holistic occupational therapist at Helix Healing Path. And for today's mini lesson, I thought we would focus on mindfulness, which is kind of this buzzword that has been out there recently. But mindfulness is so much more than just being present. There's a whole array of thought processes and connecting to the body with breath to help you stay present and focused when you're moving through life. So I'm just gonna try to do a quick little lesson on this. So Jon Kabat-Zinn is the founder of mindfulness and one of the hallmark pioneers. And he says that paying attention, it's in a particular way on purpose in that present moment and with non-judgment. And so it's also when the mind is fully attending to what is at hand, and we're not over here thinking about the future. We're not worried about the past. We're focused on the person that's in front of us. We're focused on where we are in our life, because at this point we're always in creation mode, and so you always want to be moving forward, and so you can't do that when you're worried about the future all the time. And it is this quality of power that we become so deeply aware of what's happening, and we're not necessarily judging ourselves for where we're at. We're just looking at ourselves with compassion and grace. So there's different paths for growth, and so when we are looking at transforming these negative thoughts, which could be things like anger, fear, anxiety, and then we want to bring that forward into feeling more calm and for confidence and love and cultivating that. So those core beliefs then have these powerful energies like of I'm not okay when we're in the anger and the rage, or something is wrong with me. And so being able to move that forward, that's how then we become connected into that oneness or the divine or source. So there are three systems or two zones. The avoiding, which is the brain stem, the reptilian part of the brain, which is down here, and the goal then is safety, feeling safe within ourselves, and peace, like avoiding conflict. Then we have approaching, which is the limbic system, and that's our mammalian system, and the goal then is contentment and feeling satisfied. And then the third is attaching, and this is the cortex, which is that connectedness and feeling cared about. And so when you heal, you open up your limbic system then for healing, and then that invites the cortex to come online so that we can feel more connected to other people and ourselves. So then we might have what's called these reaction zones, where our red zone is that contraction, like we feel very inward. We want to shrink because we've got fear, we've got frustration, we're grasping for things. There might be jealousy, heartache, clinging. And we want to move into the green zone, which is responsiveness. So that's this general state of openness. We feel safe, we feel peaceful, content, we're okay, we're cared about, and we're loving. And that is done through the continuous practice of being mindful of where your thoughts are and how it's feeling in your body, because fear and anxiety and stress feel awful. We feel the contraction. When you feel open and happy and connected to other people, you sense it in your body language as well, and you can see that in yourself, in your voice inflection, and just how you might be laughing. So some of the ways that we strengthen those neural pathways then is through mindfulness. So what you think about changes your brain in numerous ways. And so there's increased blood flow and nutrients to that region. And so neurons that fire together, wire together, and that's known as Hebb's axiom. And so this increases the excitability of the active neurons. So that's why mindfulness and affirmations over and over can really help to retrain the neural pathways in your brain so that you're thinking different thoughts. So then we're building these new neural networks within the brain. And so we also have this concept called neuronal pruning, is if you use it or you lose it. So you want to continuously be mindful of that and directing your energy to positive things and your goals and who you feel like you want to look like. And a lot of us that have past trauma and experiences, sometimes you don't even know what that person would look like for yourself. Like, who is your superhero within you that you want to become? And sometimes we don't have a good idea of what that even looks like, because if we've got skewed messages that have been given so over time, so you have to learn to really rewire those thoughts. So the core skills of mindfulness are clarifying, which is setting and reaffirming an intention. And then we've got cultivating a witnessing awareness. Third is stabilizing attention. Four is strengthening the self-regulation, which that all has to do with the nervous system, and I talked about that in earlier lessons. And practicing loving kindness for yourself and for others. So in terms of clarifying and setting, reaffirming an intention, this is looking at what am I practicing, and that could be for an event, a quality, a relationship, an environment. And then you cultivate this witnessing awareness, which is developing this metacognition, which is in between this awareness. It's like an awareness of your state of awareness, and practicing that outer non-reactivity, which is like witnessing how you are feeling inside, which your inner landscape like. And then the stabilizing attention is strengthening the ability to hold your intentional focus, which is and also nurturing the harmony of an intention with attention, and asking yourself, what do I want to remember in this moment? So this is where, if you're faced with something stressful, or a person that's maybe triggering you, or a particular situation, like practicing the pause and breathing and thinking, checking yourself, and then like, what am I supposed to be learning from this, or what am I supposed to be gaining from this? So those are some of the questions. And then this has to do with that strengthening of your self-regulation, which is practicing the pause, settling the negative energies intentionally, so you shorten that time that you're stuck. So you're not down in the valley for like, say, 2 days. Maybe it's a half an hour, and then you shorten it to like 5 minutes. And I've noticed over time that I've been able to really do that for myself. And so not staying in the valley, or not being angry about something for a really long time. Because when you do that, you're really only hijacking your own self. So you want to make sure that you bring that whole brain back online again. And then the biggest one is practicing loving kindness for yourself and others. And that's calming that inner critic and that judgment, because we can be so harsh on ourselves. And so learning to grant yourself more grace and more mercy, and looking at past mistakes as stepping stones to where you want to go, and not staying in the past of shooting on yourself about something that maybe you should have done, because again, you do things based on where you are at developmentally and the tools that you have available at that given time in your space. So you want to practice that non-judgmental awareness, leading to kindness and compassion for yourself and others. When we have that openness and spaciousness, we see the large view, or we see the whole big picture, or the whole landscape. And then we have got the stability of mind, which is the harmony of intention and attention. And then letting go from moment to moment, and trying to dissolve the negative thoughts. So you really do increase that flexibility of the mind, so that you're kind of molding it and moving it like molasses, or like taffy. That's my favorite analogy, is like the taffy pull from the state fair, where your mind is able to be stretched a little bit more. And once you stretch your mind like a rubber band, there is no going back to the way it was, because once you have greater awareness for how you have evolved, it takes a lot more to think about, I can never go back to those old patterns of thinking, because you've stretched yourself so immensely. And then opposite, with the contractedness, which is feeling shrunk, we have got narrow views, and we see only a small part of our world and our landscape. And that is true for trauma. You get really tunnel vision, because you cannot see outside of that box. You can't see what your potential might be for yourselves. And that leads to this distractedness, this scatteredness, not being able to be focused. So there's this disharmony that occurs, and for attention, and you get stuck in these spinning mind, or you've got these repetitive thoughts that are on this loop all the time. And so really making sure that you're thinking about how you can stop it in its tracks. So when an emotion is triggered, then a set of impulses rise that are translated into thoughts and actions and words, and then body movement. And once that emotional behavior is set off, that refractory period begins, in which we're not only monitoring, cannot consider anything else. And so we can't access the knowledge we would have if we could just confirm the emotion. And so Your actual, with anger and those kinds of things, your whole prefrontal cortex goes offline, or neocortex. And so that is really challenging because you can't think of anything else. The rage and the anger is the thing that's in the forefront. So you can't use your rational thoughts to come to conclusions or to help you move out of that. So learning how to stop it in its tracks and do something to change that feedback loop will be important. But mindfulness used as a daily practice, it's a powerful tool and for changing your habitual reactions that hijack. So even if you go on a walk, you can do what's called a mindfulness walk. Like you start to enjoy the trees and nature, and you might spot critters like little frogs on your path because you're actually taking the time to appreciate and give gratitude and be more mindful about your walk, or whatever that might be. Your eating is mindful. You're really taking the time to chew your food and to appreciate the meal that you have. So mindfulness does become stronger with time, and every time you encounter a negative emotion, you have a choice then to decide how you're going to move forward with that. And so I know that we can't always predict how we're going to react, because sometimes you had a really off day and maybe you didn't get a lot of sleep. It's, of course, you're going to be triggered by something a little bit more heavily than if you'd gotten like 10 hours of sleep and your exercise in that morning or whatever that might be. So there's different days that sometimes can lend way to us not reacting as well as we'd like to. And a lot of times too with mindfulness, it's these explicit and implicit memories that do sometimes cause us to have these memories, because a lot of that fear is in our system of old things that have happened to us, and it's coming out as like, oh, remember when that happened last time, what happened? Instead of you taking a chance, or instead of you moving forward, you've still got that autopilot worry going on, and that could be things that are unconscious and really stuck in the system, but your body remembers it, and so then you act in a certain way based on those old situations. But we think that our entire reaction is responding to this present situation, when in fact it's the significant part of the reaction that's flooding our memory with these earlier experiences. And this is a memory that we're not even aware that we're having. So that's also where we could totally shut down and dissociate and not be present and get really angry or really fired up about something. So then the brain's damper switch for the amygdala surges in the prefrontal lobes, and this is where we analyze our perceptions more thoroughly, we sort out details to situations, and that's where those alarm signals of the amygdala are going up, but we may not even really be at risk. And it's a problem with the circuits that are firing in the amygdala, and that has already begun to send out the alarm signals. And that analytical process then in the prefrontal lobes, that's that quick and dirty analysis, like thinking, oh, you got to be scared. Oh, you got to run away. Oh, you've got to take action and do this because remember what happened last time. And so it's not always correct, because it's the memory of the old stuff that's getting in the way of what's happening right before your very eyes. And so that quick alarm response then short circuits the prefrontal lobe's ability to really process through the situation. So practicing the pause is a big one. Taking slow, 10 deep breaths into the nose, longer breath out, in and out through the nose can really help center and ground you. That's always my number one tool that I teach everyone. So when you're self-regulating, you're really watching for the softening quality of the exhale, bringing your attention to the exhale, how you can feel your body loosen up, sitting up tall, unclench your jaw, unfurl your brow, shoulders up tall. And getting into that perfect position will help you also practice that mindful breathing. And sometimes picking a word or a phrase like relax, let go can also be helpful. Be happy, silently repeating your word like a mantra, using imagination and positive visualization like a beautiful scene or a favorite vacation place or your pet or something like that can also help you just like settle down those negative thoughts that are happening inside you. Or prayers can also be helpful. I use a lot of prayers before I do yoga, before I meditate, to help me let go of things that I don't need anymore. And this can also help to soothe your nervous system as well, using your body parts as anchors. Like sometimes I'll put my one hand on my heart, one hand on my belly, and close my eyes and really get into my body to do the belly breathing. Humming, singing, and chanting is another way that you can clear that like your negative energy and just feel more connected into your body, listening to songs. I really enjoy Gregorian chant, which is monk music, and that can be really grounding for the body as well because of the low frequency vibrations of the males. So when you're having these negative thoughts, I've talked about this extensively, like changing the channel or doing something to get out of these negative loops. Go for a walk, treat your body well, take a bath, take a class, do something, some self-modulation break to help you like switch out of that if you're feeling angry. Sometimes even doing laundry or unloading the dishwasher, those simple household tasks will also help you switch off that negative feedback loop because it's repetitive, it's something you know how to do, you know what the outcome will be, and so that actually brings a sense of relief and feeling in control when you are feeling so out of control. And doing things that nurture your spirit, whether that's spirituality, whether that's going to a museum, whether that's prayer, whether that's journaling, whether it's connecting with a friend, whatever that might be. There's lots of, everything in life is spiritual, really. So doing whatever nurtures your spirit and your soul. And then in terms of the mindfulness, it's stop, breathing, reflecting, and choosing. And so when you stop, you want to bring awareness to the problem as soon as possible and begin to recognize the early signs of whatever your emotional reaction is. And I need to pay attention to this right now. And then you've got breathing. So lots of breathing tools and become sensitive to the natural softening of the breath, because even when we're stressed, we breathe hard and then we tone it down and we soften it. So relaxing into the exhale then allows your body and your energy to soften. And then reflecting on it, appraise that situation. What is my old pattern here? Is my reaction supported by old myths and messages? And again, it's kind of like, does my reaction match the size of the problem? And so you really have to ascertain what that looks like for you. And can I change my mind about how I see myself in this situation? And what is the best insight about this situation? What do I want to or need to remember? And then the last one is choosing. So then here's your choice. What is possible here? How can I move myself out of how I'm feeling? What is skillful and effective? And what are my tools that are available to help me move from A to B? And what's the best choice with all of that's presented here in this circumstance? So those are the 4 steps of mindfulness. So I hope that was helpful. If you want to reach out to me, I'm at jody@helixhealingpath.com, or you can look me up on my website, which is www.helixhealingpath.com. I have a certificate in mindfulness, and it is something I love to teach clients as well. So please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks for watching, and have a very mindful day.